Cookin. I'm your hostess, Cindy Schumacher. On today's show, we'll be making Mexican beef and rice casserole, black bean soup, cheddar and chive popovers, and 5-fruit pie. We're going to start with the pie, and it's pretty simple once you've got everything cleaned and chopped and ready to roll. But basically, you have 5 different fruits that we're going to combine. So I've got strawberries, a cup of rhubarb, blueberries, cup of blueberries. I'm using cherries. Actually, the recipe calls for blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. There were no raspberries in the store. And when I make this, I sometimes switch the fruits around. I'll use peaches, I'll use cherries, I'll do whatever. And then we're going to add apples that I've peeled and sliced. Grab a little spatula here. I have a cup and a half of sugar. It seems like a lot, but when you're using something like tart apples and rhubarb, sometimes you just need a little bit more sugar. I need 5 tablespoons of cornstarch. If you'd prefer to use something like tapioca, you can do that. I don't like the texture of tapioca, so we're using cornstarch today. You could also substitute flour if you want to. Let's see how this looks. Okay, you want to let that set for just a few minutes, and we'll fill the pie tin. I make my own pie crust. If you want to buy the pre-made, that's fine too. I'm going to tear off a little bit of this excess. I've had a lot of fun with this pie between the different seasons and different fresh fruits that are available. And of course, you can always use the frozen vegetables if they're out of season, like if you freeze your rhubarb or whatever like that. My husband and my brother-in-law, the first time I made this, said this is the best pie they've ever had. So that's a pretty good endorsement. And of course, it's always a personal thing, but most people will enjoy having the different flavors and the different colors too. It just makes a really pretty presentation. I'm going to dot it with some butter, about 2 tablespoons. We'll top it. If you want to, and you have the time, you can do a lattice top on this too. It's very pretty with all the different colors. I usually don't take the time for lattice, but if you are having some special guests and really want to make a nice presentation, go ahead and take your time and do it, because it'll be worth your time just because of the colors. And matter of fact, my mom has a birthday this Sunday, and I'm making pie instead of a cake for her, so this is what we're gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna cut a couple slits in the top. And then I always sprinkle my top with sugar. I don't know if you like that, but I just think it just gives another dimension to the pie. Okay. I'm going to put foil on this, so we'll take a quick break while I do that.
Internet is here. Valley now has higher broadband speeds of up to 1 gigabit. Get the bandwidth you need for all your devices at one time. Gaming with no lag time. Video stream your favorite movies instantly in HD quality. Video chat with friends and family without interruption. Download your favorite music and photos in seconds. All on our 100% fiber optics network. Valley offers managed Wi-Fi and backup services too, bringing together all the services you need. Valley Telecommunications Cooperative. We're going to work on the Mexican beef and rice casserole. I have a pound of very lean ground beef. I'm going to get that cooking here. I was going to tell you one thing while I think about it. I put the pie in the oven at 400. We're going to bake it for 40 minutes. Then I'm going to remove the foil and we're going to bake it another 15 minutes or so the crust browns up. You know, it's always kind of hard to decide what to make for, and I test so many recipes and some are fails, but when I do make one on the show, it's always been tried and true, it's tested, and I've gotten, people have said that's good, do that, so, but I thought, we're in August now, and kids are going to be going back to school, and even if you don't have kids, you might have grandkids or somebody stopping by, it's nice to have some good casserole recipes. You can actually make them up in advance and then bake them when you are ready to have them baked. So this is a, kind of a spicy one, but kids like it, men that like spicier food. And you can always tone it down using a mild taco seasoning and mild salsa and things like that. So just because if you don't like hot things, don't shy away from trying this casserole because it's a good one. The directions say to drain your hamburger, but this hamburger is so lean that I don't even have to drain it. It's just about brown already. Give it another minute and then we'll start adding the rest of the ingredients. And here again, it's nice to have something where you can just toss everything in, throw it in your pan and bake it and not have to do a lot of steps. Okay, to this I'm going to add a cup of frozen mixed vegetables. This, it doesn't have a lot of, it doesn't add a lot of flavor, but you get some vegetables, you get some color. We'll stir that in. I have a can of diced tomatoes. I'm using the petite dice because I think it just gives you a better consistency instead of having a bigger chunk of tomato. You're getting a little bit more distribution of your ingredients. A packet of taco seasoning. I'm using original, so it's kind of a medium. 1 cup of thick and chunky salsa. I usually make my own, but I just thought, for today I would go ahead and buy some. So we're gonna do a cup. We have a cup of long grain white rice. Cup of chicken broth. And then this is Mexican style cheese. It's a 4-cheese blend that's pre-grated. You can find it in the grocery store. It's always hanging on above the cheese in our grocery store, so I don't think you'll have any trouble finding it. But it's actually a combination of Monterey Jack cheddar, queso quesadilla, and a Sodero cheese. Well, I don't know what that is, but anyway. So it's a combination of these. So I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of the cheese right now into the mix, and then we'll top it with the other cup of the cheese when we put it in the pan. And I'm just going to stir it around, get it mixed up real well. Okay, looks pretty good. So we're going to put this into a 9x13. I'm using a glass pan. Kind of spread it around. Okay, we're going to cover this with foil, and then we're going to bake it at 375. Let me check the time. 40 to 50 minutes. So I'll cover it up. We'll get it in the oven. I'll be right back.
Valley is now offering updated digital TV packages and prices. Call Valley today at 437-2615.
Okay, we're going to work on the cheddar and chive popovers. I have a tablespoon of butter that I've melted in my bowl, and to that I'm going to whisk in 3 whole large eggs. And you don't have to whisk them hard, you just kind of break them up, incorporate it into the butter. And so to that then I'm going to add a cup of all-purpose flour, a cup of milk, 3/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to kind of whisk that together here. So once you have that all incorporated, and you want a few lumps, that's kind of the nature of a popover. I'm going to add 3/4 cup of grated cheddar cheese and a 1/4 cup of chives. I have chives in my yard, so I'm using fresh. If you don't have fresh, you can also use green onions for this if you chop them nice and fine, or you can use the dried chives. I want to remind you, because I haven't reminded you today, as usual, if you want a copy of any of these recipes that we're making today, if you don't have internet, give the girls at Valley a call. They'll be happy to help you with a copy of the recipe. If you do have internet, you go to the Valley homepage, www.valleytal.net. Click on the Country Cookin' Cow, you'll find all the recipes there. This is actually a mini popover pan. I have a regular size and I have a mini. The regular size only makes 6 popovers, so I'm making the minis today. If you don't have a popover pan, you can use a muffin tin. When you're using the mini pan, you would fill it maybe 2/3 full. If you're using the bigger popover pan, you would do it 3/4. If it's a wider, you fill it 3/4 full. So I'm going to do it just about 2/3 full. Oops, that one got kind of full. Spoon a little out. I love popovers, and they're, the nice thing is that you don't have to do any kneading or, you know, letting them rise or anything, and that's, to me, is always a bonus. So I have my oven preheated at 450. We're gonna bake them for about 15 minutes at 450. And then, without opening the oven, we're gonna reduce the heat to 350 and let them bake for about another 15 minutes. But if you open the oven, they're not gonna pop. They're not gonna do the burst and pop over. I've got one that's a little bit too full. So I'm gonna transfer over here, just kind of even them out a little bit. Looks like they should be pretty good. Okay, in the oven they go, 15 minutes at 450. Then we're gonna reduce the oven to 350 for another 15 minutes. And then we're gonna let them pop. I'm gonna take a quick break and clean up. We'll be right back. Okay, we're gonna start on the black bean soup. This is really easy. It's kind of different, but I thought it'd be kind of fun since our Mexican casserole didn't have any beans in there and can't kind of do much Mexican stuff without beans. So I'm gonna start out with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then to that, I'm going to add a medium red onion, finely diced. We're gonna get that cooking for about 5 minutes, just so it starts to tender up. Actually, while that's cooking, I'm going to start doing my freshly ground black pepper, just because it takes some time, and it doesn't hurt to add your seasonings while your vegetables are sauteing. Out there. While this is cooking, I'm going to add, it calls for 2 cloves of garlic minced. I just bought the minced garlic in the jar. It's convenient. It's nice to have the fresh garlic, but this is so convenient, and you can just grab what you need whenever you need it, and it keeps forever. So you don't have roots growing or whatever in the garlic when sitting on your counter. And then this also calls for a tablespoon of minced jalapeno pepper. In the fall, I grow jalapeno peppers in my garden. I chop them up and freeze them, so I always have jalapeno peppers on hand too. So we'll just toss those in and get everything cooking up a little bit here. To this now, we're going to add a teaspoon of chili powder. And I found that this is about the right seasoning. It's not, this soup is not hot at all. You can do some fun things with garnish. They say to do avocados. They didn't have avocados in the store when I did my shopping for this show, but if you'll serve it with a dollop of sour cream, and you could do a wedge of avocado, to add some green to it and a little more of a vegetable. If you have cilantro, or I don't care for cilantro, and I kind of feel like there's a little bit of You really don't see a lot of the color because the black beans and the broth kind of overtake it. So I don't know that you necessarily need to add that unless you really like the cilantro flavoring. I'm going to add a half teaspoon of cumin. And a tablespoon of tomato paste. We're gonna sprinkle in a little kosher salt. I use kosher salt a lot. I even use it for instead of canning salt, I use kosher salt. So I always have it on hand. You can even use it like if you make homemade pretzels and you want a little bit of a coarser grained salt on them, or bagels or something like that. So I use a lot of kosher salt. Okay, now we're going to add 3 cans of black beans with the juice. Stir that all in together. I'm going to toss in bay leaf that fell on the floor, so I'll grab another one. Well, find a whole one. And then you'll remove the bay leaf just before you serve it. And I'm going to add a quart of chicken stock or broth, or you can use vegetables. I like the flavor that the chicken broth gives, so that's what I choose to use. Now you want to bring this to a boil, and then it's ready to serve. So I'm going to kind of wait just a little while to bring it to a boil because I want it to be done at the same time as everything else. So I'm going to put a few things away. We're going to check on, oops, it's time to turn the pop over heat down to 350. But you don't want to, remember, do not open the oven. Keep it closed. I'm going to take a quick break while we clean up. We'll be right back.
At Valley Telecommunications, we pride ourselves in providing the home team advantage. But what does that mean? It means going above and beyond to take care of our customers' needs by providing exceptional customer service, because helping you helps all of us. As a cooperative, each time you subscribe to our services, you are investing in our community, which allows all of us to build and benefit from the newest technologies. Make the switch today to Valley Telecommunications and experience the home team advantage.
Okay, we're ready to dish up. I just pulled the pie out of the oven, so as you can imagine, it hasn't really set up yet. And like my husband says, this pie always seems to be better once even the next day he said it's, but anyway, actually it didn't do too bad. This is the casserole. We're going to serve that with a dollop of sour cream. There we go. We have our Mexican beef and rice casserole, our black bean soup, our cheddar and chives popovers, and our 5-fruit pie. Thanks for joining us today on this edition of Country Cookin'. We hope to see you next time.